Good evening, everyone. We'll get started. As usual, firstly, these readings, reminder to be in the right state of my mind, to generate the right sort of thought, intention, and then use our listening and sitting and being here as act of Bodhisattva's way of life itself. Listening to teaching is one of the Bodhisattva's 10 dharmic conducts, but if the intention itself is not quite there, the mere listening may be just the form of it. But the substance is the intent that makes our listening to the teaching that actually can, not depending on how profound or revealing the teaching is, but the fact that with intention with which we listen to the teaching to help us to see and know the way of Bodhisattva's attitude that is safe to adhere to, and the way our own normal negative attitude are not safe to turn away from. So the teaching is trying to show the way how to choose our own thoughts. This bodhicitta, prayer of the cultivation of bodhicitta, is asking the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to bear witness to us and then give the blessings to each other. And then we vow to guard, cultivate and guard that intention as frequently as possible, particularly on an occasion like this in listening to the teachings. So with this, therefore we do the reading mindfully as a practice of Bodhisattva's way of life itself. We're not just reading these so that we can do Bodhisattva's way of life separately. The reading and listening itself is and can be Bodhisattva's way of life. O fully enlightened blessed ones, Buddhas dwelling in the 10 directions, Bodhisattvas and great Bodhisattvas abiding on the 10 stages, and great Vajra holder gurus, please pay attention to me. Until gaining Buddhahood, go for refuge in Buddhas. Also Dharma and Sangha, Bodhisattva assembly. All for body, also wealth, virtues merits to 3 times, without any attachment for the sake of all beings. As all Sugātas of past gave rise to bodhicitta, learn Bodhisattva's precepts, and train stages in accord, for the sake of all beings, I embrace bodhicitta, also learn to live by the precepts, stages in accord. O fully enlightened blessed ones, Buddhas dwelling in the 10 directions, Bodhisattvas and great Bodhisattvas abiding on the 10 stages, and great Vajra holder gurus, please pay attention to me. Until gaining Buddhahood, go for refuge in Buddhas, also Dharma and Sangha, Bodhisattva assembly. All for body, also wealth, virtues, merits of 3 times, without any attachment for the sake of all beings. As all Sugātas past give rise to bodhicitta, learn Bodhisattva's precepts and train stages in accord. For the sake of all beings, I embrace bodhicitta, also learn to live by the precepts and stages in accord. O fully enlightened blessed ones, Buddhas dwelling in the 10 directions, Bodhisattvas and great Bodhisattvas abide in the 10 stages, and great Vajra holder gurus, please pay attention to me. Until gaining Buddhahood, go for refuge in Buddhas, also Dharma and Sangha, Bodhisattva assembly, all for body, also wealth, virtues, merits of 3 times, without any attachment for the sake of all beings. As all Sugātas of past give rise to bodhicitta, learn Bodhisattva's precepts and train stages in accord. For the sake of all beings, I embrace bodhicitta, also learn to live by the precepts, stages in accord. Now I have reaped life's good harvest, for I have good human life, born in the race of the Buddhas, become indeed Buddha's child. I, from now on, at all costs, whole legacy of this race, this faultless mendicant's race, will be never polluted. In the front of guardian refuges, today invite all beings as my guests, till their 10 stages of Sunko. May the gods and demigods rejoice. May the excellent bodhicitta take birth yet not done so. Where it is born, may it increase freely without degeneration. May never part bodhicitta, engage in bodhisattva's conduct, being guided Bodhisattva's way, may I renounce all the evil deeds. In the heart of Bodhisattva's mind, intend to help welfare beings. Whatever are wishes of the Lord, may all live sentient beings attain them. May all beings possess happiness. May they desert all lower realms. Bodhisattvas abide in the 10 stages, fulfill all prayers and their wishes. May they strive in all paramitas and never forget bodhicitta. And may all obscurations and misdeeds become complete in its purity. So striving to train in the practices of paramitas, or which is called the trainings of transcendental practices, however well enthused and motivated we are to embrace the kindness and compassion and selfless thought and way of doing in our mind, but without the diligence, without the consistent application of the joyful participation in everything we do, there is a tendency of slackening and not being able to perform very well. So this chapter goes to talk about the importance of the diligence, and the importance of diligence means that we have this innate laziness. The innate laziness must be recognized as a cause of many of our heartaches and disappointment and setbacks. Nothing is obstacle, it's our own laziness, our own faint-heartedness, our own and non-acquaintance of the impermanence and death, and not prioritizing good things to do and put more effort to. Those good we need to do, we ignore. Those that are futile and unnecessary, we spend more time. Our time management completely lopsided. Due to the laziness, we therefore do not get to enthusiastically practice what is dear to our heart. So hence it is said the importance of how to understand the antithesis of diligence is laziness, how to learn to overcome the laziness, and by recognizing what they do and how it has caused a lot of setbacks in our even material and physical life, and many things that we are still falling short or difficult because we've been lazy to attend to what is the important remedies. What are the preventative things we could have pursued in the past? We didn't. Therefore, many of the setbacks of even personal benefit are caused by laziness, lack of diligence. And so, he spent a bit of time discussing about the demerits of laziness and the importance of learning to discard laziness and how to learn to develop remedy the laziness by overcoming the hardships or the excuses, fears that one otherwise might have. And so, therefore, learning to see the deep suffering in the whole world and on one's own and unfrightened by them, and learning to overcome them by developing diligence. But in order to develop diligence, first of all, one has to have the intention, the very intention to overcome one's laziness. If one lacks the intention, it was discussed last week where we stopped, that how the Buddha taught that the intention is good intention is the root of virtue, and bad intention is root of bad deeds. And so therefore we need to be motivated or diligent to tackle our intention. First of all, see whether we have intent. Secondly, to improve the intention, we have to be very enthusiastic. We have to be joyously engaged in checking and tackling our intention before the thing that we think we should get engaged in. If our intention is very self-centered, short-sighted, and very low kind of mentality, if our intention is that, then that's probably the reason why our quickly discovered enthusiasm is lost in very quickly. Because our intention is very shallow and short-term for me and temporal kind of gratification or fun. When the intent is very short and shallow and short-sighted and selfish, that's why it cannot be kept very long, because it is always looking for temporal gratification. When that is not returned, then one loses the intention. Enthusiastic is lost quickly, because one's intention is me, now, temporal benefit, So if the intention is for the benefit of all, and until all sentient beings are liberated, and not for temporal comfort and rewards, then one will not be intimidated by these difficulties. So therefore, he highlighted the importance of the intent to try to develop more enthusiasm or diligence to tackle the intention. Knowing that, thinking the effect of what we do is the cause, and the cause is the intention, The intent is the most important than the actual action. The action, back-breaking jobs people do every day. But intention is without being checked carefully, then indeed it breaks many backs. It breaks many backs. It restores none because of the quality of the intention. And they will sue. They will sue the company for having a broken back, because of the intention is just for me. If the intention is for the company or for the benefit of others, even you have some injuries, you will never think of suing the people or beings for whom you are doing it. So it's very clearly where there's a lot of problems is because the intent was only just for me, And so, whereas if the intention is for the benefit of others, that's why most people don't realize it's the intention that they need to check enthusiastically. Before the intention is completely, I would say, scrutinized, one doesn't act on the intention merely because one wishes to do something. So bodhisattvas are a little slow in progressing because they are still checking the intention. They're still busy checking the intention. Yeah. So here, thinking of being able to think of, check and scrutinize our intention will help us to determine the good outcome or fruit. So the verse number 41 until 43 deals with the common things that help us to compose good intention, compose or have good intention. Verse number 41 goes to read, say that the body's pains, anxieties of the mind, every fear and trepidation, separation from the objects of our wanting, such is the harvest of our sinful deeds. So this is looking at the effect that we have, the actual experience we have, such as pain in the body, physical pains you're going through, and mental anxieties you have, and the various fears of this going wrong and that happening and so on. All this we have, and fear of losing things or separating from good things you have. All these things are results of intention that are self-centered. So therefore, we shouldn't see these things due to weather, these things due to that. That is just it's called a lot of people will always look at symptoms. Oh, because of that. This is because you ate that. Because of this. But they don't realize bodhisattvas will be enthusiastically check the intention, which is the cause. So therefore it says, such is the harvest of our sinful deeds. Sinful deeds here refers to the bad, wrong views, thoughts, like ill will. And so physical pains is usually caused by, they say, ill will. Yeah? Ill will. So many pains, ill will. So anxiety of mind is usually frightening people, scaring people, blackmailing people. These are blackmailing people, threatening people can bring a lot of anxiety. Effect of that. This is talking about effect, yeah? These are effects. because the whole thing was talking about the effect of the thoughts, intentions. And the fear that we have is because of attachment. Past always lose the fear of losing something that we have, even though we have the things. And then, even though we have the things, we still dare not to use them or give them or whatever. We always fear. Because of that, in the future, one has always fear. Whatever one has, one can't use that, but the fear. The fear is an effect of thought that is clinging and grasping, and so therefore, if we have done sometimes in the past with ill will to cause someone losing something, someone losing the influence or wealth or power or position or friendship, whatever we did, that we will not fulfill our wishes. Many things we want, it's not happening because they are a result of our own ill will and things we did maliciously to harm others from fulfilling their wishes. Some people get things come, many good things come, just trying a little effort. It's because they have done good deeds. They have helped people to allay their fears and anxieties, maybe accompanied them, maybe give them help or allay their fears and whatever. The effect of such good intention will be opposite to these things. So that's only that. This verse mainly highlighting the effects of sinful thoughts or bad thoughts, ill will, covetousness, wrong view. These are the kind of things that causes them. Now the next two verses, the next two verses still the same under the same subtitle. It says, if my acts are wholesome, mirroring my mind, then no matter where I turn my steps, respect, honor will be paid to me. The fruit and recompense of merit. So this is saying that just as those, considering that previous verse, that all the fear and physical anxiety and the pain and mental anxiety is a result of past bad intention of oneself, so likewise the other way is the good that our life experiences. That all the whatever you're doing currently that you regard as good, you're helping people. And these came from your motivation. Mirroring my mind means your motivation of altruism, kindness, compassion would have made yourself to engage in wholesome deeds. And so, doesn't matter whatever you do or whatever direction you turn into, something always good come to you. Respect from others, honor, and gratitude, helpful, many good things come your way. These are results of your good intention with which you have gone out of your time, your space, and have met some people's need. Maybe you respected somebody. You spoke kindly to people. You intended to say kindly because the person will not be benefited if I spoke harshly. Therefore, you would have carefully chose right intention and to say kind words, and people respect you, people honor you, and so Shantideva says, these are results of the very intent that are wholesome by your own past deeds that is now rewarded to you. It looks like maybe someone is very, very extraordinarily respectful to you. But the same person isn't respectful to others. It's not because his character is like that. If he's independently his character, he will be respectful to everybody like that. No, but only to a certain person, that person is respectful. To others, we're not respectful. So it's not that the person really have the merit to show that respect to everybody, Some people they have to show respect to somebody, but with others they wouldn't. So that shows the result of the respect receivers' past intention of offering the due I would say, kind of courtesy and respect and friendship, if you have extended to other kind, then one will be rewarded by that. Respect, honor will be paid to me. The fruit and recompense of merit. So these are result of the meritorious deeds that one has done. So here talking about the importance of the intention, that intention then produces the result. So this doesn't mean that if you do something nice intentionally to somebody, they should necessarily will be reciprocate that straight away, So maybe what you're doing intentionally now, presently, wouldn't be quite rewarded by the same place and same time. Not quite. So sometimes people lose faith in the law of karma or confuse about the law of karma. They try their best, but they don't get rewarded from the people or places the same manner because they think that is the result of their action. But how people treat us now is a result of our past intentions, past investment, or whatever. These present things that you are doing will never go unrewarded, will never go forgotten, will never be lost in the files. It will be rewarded. If it's good deeds, it will be rewarded. If it's bad deeds, you will be punished. So knowing that, the Bodhisattva is very diligent to craft a very good intention, to develop a very good intention, a very good intention indeed. But if in search of happiness, my works are evil, so meaning that this is the opposite, this is the opposite, then no matter where I turn my steps, the knives of misery will cut me down, wage and retribution of a sinful life. So that it says, so it says that the verse number 42 is a positive. Verse number 43 is the exact opposite. So even if you are going in search of happiness right now, you're doing very much to seek happiness or whatever. But because the intention of the past has been self-centered or ill will or anger or whatever it is, my works are evil means my thoughts in the past has been evil. Then no matter where you turn away, whether you move from one place to another, you think that would be a better place, out of sight, out of mind. All the problem are there, so you leave the problem there, you move somewhere, and you will meet them. The knives of misery will cut me down wherever you go. So there is, because these are a result of one's own ill wills and malice and resentment and anger and vindictiveness and so on. So therefore, the life itself will be punished accordingly. Wherever you go, it is not escapable, You can't escape from country to country. The karma will be waiting on the other side of the border. Oh, here he comes. So therefore, one shouldn't think that you can just leave some record somewhere and nobody recognizes. The law of karma is amazingly accurate. And so therefore, Shantideva want the Bodhisattva's way of life practitioner to be diligent in terms of verifying the experience of karma that they are going through, seeing these are results of my past bad intents. Oh, these people are so nice. I'm so lucky to feed these things. These are a result of my past good intent. Now I'm favorably treated this way, so I must make sure these are not gone wasted. So we become even more skillful, more diligent. We become more diligent to not let the good karma become wasted. And even diligent with the negative karma don't get purified. I mean, even if negative karma is experienced, but we become diligent to make sure that this experience exhausts our karma, that we willingly and positively, with good intention, with Tonglen, take on yourself, take on the sufferings of others with good intent. I can take this, I have the teachings, others got so much suffering, they can't take it. So just visualize, imagine that you're taking on them, taking on yourself. When you do that, then you're diligent not only to do good, but to exhaust the bad. Even the bad karma has to be exhausted, But merely experiencing, they don't get exhausted, even if we experience the bad karma, but if we react badly to it with bad intent to the bad karma, then it becomes, furthermore, another bad. It just maybe becomes 500 times more bad. It worsens very quickly, I'm told. But so the diligence is not just doing good, but diligence in accepting the results of past karma and therefore accepting them, meaning len. Dong len means accepting them, receiving them, and take responsibility of them and not push them back. A lot of people push their karma as done by somebody else, and they justify themselves to be act angry and aggression and so on. They don't realize it's past negative karma of collective or individuals in the thing. Our aggression to it's not going to remedy that. However much we care, we should. Even we really think somebody is terrible, still only the terrible person can only be rectified, changed, if we have kindness to him or her. If we have ill will to them, this will bite us even more instead of correcting somebody else. So the Bodhisattva must be diligent to understand the workings of the law of cause and effect. And particularly talking about now the difference between the two, difference between virtue, difference between the virtue created by the Bodhisattvas and suffering produced by sentient beings who end up in a very difficult situations. So verse number 44 goes to talk about how the virtues produce the enlightened ones. So he says here, I will arise through virtue in the cool heart of a fragrant spreading lotus. Its lotus opened in the Buddha's light, with glory nourished by sweet words of the conqueror, and live the Buddha's air within the presence of the victorious ones. So this is talking about bodhisattvas, how the bodhisattvas who have done good in the past do not take birth when they do not choose to. They choose to be born at a place that is conducive and beautiful. And so through their virtue, they will be born in lotus. They will not be born, not through human birth, they will be born miraculously on lotus. So it's talking about the great virtue of the enlightened ones whose mind is like a lotus with the bodhicitta motivation. Therefore, even their coming in the world will be free of the suffering of labor, of birth, giving birth, both to the mother and the child. And so it will be devoid of that. Its petal open in the Buddha light, with glory nourished by the sweet sounds of the conqueror. So it's talking about the many wonderful sound or the aura or ambience that will be blessed by the actual coming of the Buddha, coming of the Buddha. Whereas the opposite is the case when sentient beings who have done many negative deeds will be born. How sinful and negative karma produce the experience of suffering in hell. So next verse number 45 is the exact opposite of the verse number 44. It says, or else, as the wages of my sins, wages really means the results, consequences of my misdeeds, I will be struck down, my skin flayed open by creatures. So it's talking about many sentient beings who are born in hell realm, or many human beings are tortured. In this very world, as we speak, many countries give capital punishment, do many kind of torturous things months and months before the person is killed or shot. They do all sorts of things. This is really, we're talking about not some invisible hell. We're talking about visible hells in big cities, big cities, and quite a lot of people are guarding those with machine guns and like we're talking about hell really. So my skin flayed open off by creatures of the Lord of Death, who on my body pour the liquid bronze that melted in the dreadful blaze, and pierced by burning swords and knives, my flesh dismembered in 100 parts will fall upon the white hot iron ground. So this is talking about the negative consequences of torturing or harming somebody. Harming somebody will make oneself inescapably to be born in a hell rebirth. Hell rebirth. Even in this life, many people go through. Some people die in such tragic situations, awful death of violence or terrible maybe accident or violence in which they die. Yet these are no accident. It looks like an accident on the surface, but there is a direct result. There is a direct result of some terrible thoughts that one once upon a time conjured, ill will, spite, and anything designed to scheme and harm somebody and try to make someone to go down or fall or collapse or like whatever, any ill will brooding one does can bring instant kind of accident. Karma is so powerful, so powerful. So that's why it is, Shantideva uses these two analogies of a result of a good deeds of the enlightened ones, a result of bad deeds of the ordinary ones in the hell, is saying we have to therefore be diligent to guard our intention. To guard our intention so that we do not just act on anything we want to do, but check whether we really wanted to scheme and plan such a ill will or malice or spiteful motivation we might have. So instead we should halt that, cancel that, and try to be diligent in recruiting a positive, wholesome, kind, compassionate thought. First try to replace the ill will by goodwill, and then try to cultivate the goodwill and be diligent in unsitting the ill will and replacing it with goodwill. If we do that, then we are diligent. Diligent doesn't mean in the eyes of people you're doing many things, It look like everybody feel guilty because you're doing so many things. It could be a form of diligence as well, of course. But of course here, Bodhisattva must be diligent to guard his or her intention. That's hardest to detect, hardest to correct, hardest to remedy. So therefore, Bodhisattva always be diligent. He's sitting there on the cushion. Why sitting? He's just checking his intention. Always righteous or very, very prejudicial or arrogant or self-centered or whatever. He didn't want to let any of that take over and make him do the things under the sway of these afflicted intentions. So diligently meditating. When you're meditating, sometimes you should really think about it. It's not just the speed of the thing you're doing or the form of it. Sometimes we're good at form, and diligent in the form of it, diligent in the quantity of it, and diligent on the number of it. Diligent in the appearance of it, but not diligent in checking in the intention of it. If the intention itself is not checked, the all outside diligence is called impure diligence. Impure diligence. Is diligence for no use. Destructive diligence. Only to make yourself throw into the this burning lava, they say. Without knowing, how such things. So therefore, here, the Bodhisattva's way of life practitioner has to be diligent in testing and scrutinizing his intention. And of course, it doesn't mean we become a less performer on the form. We do whatever we have to do. But deep down, there should be a joy in which we do. Even we don't feel obligated. We should do with great might of innovation, great kind of touch of productivity, and that really has benefited others. Then you can see it is whipped by the diligence of joyous effort. You can see the effect is very, very obvious. One is like hell, other is like a divine. So that's why one should be diligent in checking and scrutinizing one's intention. So that's verse number 45. And now we move to, therefore, it is important to cultivate the motivation. Check, scrutinize the motivation. And so, hence it says, and so will I aspire and tend to virtue. So therefore, one should be motivated to do wholesome. One should be really motivated to do wholesome and meditate with devotion. One should steep yourself in myself. The person sitting there is steep myself in it with great devotion. The meditation you do, you have to have this very strong intent to go pay greater degree of intention that is bodhicitta motivated. When it's bodhicitta motivated, then you are enthused to diligently. You are good at kind of bringing out the right intention, and you should spend time to go deep into meditation until that motivation is crystallized. Once that is done, so now that's from the second half of that verse onwards, talks about how to cultivate, be steadfast by being very introspective of your own intention. Meaning you are keeping an eye on your own intention. Some people say, keep an eye on him, or keep an eye on them. Here the Bodhisattva, keep an eye on your own intention from now onwards. Okay, so straight away, there's not something new to look at, something new, intelligence. You got to check your intention, check your intention, steadfastness to check your own intention. So, therefore it says, and with the method stated in the Vajradwaja, I'll train in confidence assurance. So, this means that there is a sutra, in the Avatamsaka Sutra, which is the method stated in Vajradwaja is the name of the chapter, but actual main body of the text is Avatamsaka Sutra. In there it says, Son of gods, the rising of the sun is not impeded either by the blind way, a bodhisattva's conduct cannot be impeded by the false and harmful actions of the cruel. Beginning thus, for the welfare of sentient beings, I must accept a huge heap of suffering. I must strive, must not retreat, must not be intimidated, and must not be frightened. So what it does is that one is cultivating strong will, steadfast to investigate, that I will not be intimidated, that I will not be hampered or swayed, I will not retreat. So that's diligent to not only start, but saying that I will not be discouraged. Because often we were very interested, all of a sudden we had a conversation, and then all of a sudden we discouraged. So something discouraged because it's that place like this, this is like it starts 6 a.m. every morning and goes all day. Then we get discouraged. Things like that, I will not retreat. I will not retreat. So I will keep scrutinizing steadfastly, analyzing, spying on my own mind whether I'm doing something detrimental to my enthusiasm, because diligence doesn't require discouragement. If diligence is discouraged, then it's not diligence; it's discouragement. So diligence is not discourageable. This is the whole thing, It was like in the very beginning, like your hair caught on fire, You don't say, I'll do later. It takes so long to put off the fire. You don't say that. You need a huge blanket, and I don't have one. let the hair go on fire, So they use the analogy of how urgent it is to put off the fire. So one should not be intimidatable or discourageable by things. And if one is discouraged by something so easily, and that's the reason That's the reason why we're not finding so easy to engage, and therefore it says, let me first consider my resources. Yeah, this is diligence. First check what kind of resources I have, what is kind of abilities, acquaintance I have, to start or not to start accordingly. Whatever you want to do, just see whether you have all the prerequisites, eligibility criteria, all the provisions and whatever, and so check carefully. For it is better not to start at all. It might be better that you don't start at all. So basically, your diligence is don't make many false starts, and so it's diligent to not make false start, not many start many and not finish them very well. That's what. Then to begin and then retrace my steps. So the Bodhisattva is mind talking to himself. How one will not, If able, I'll begin. If not able, I will not begin. It's best not to begin things that I cannot be accomplished. So be reasonable, realistic. So diligence is not kind of a greediness to do something without being realistic, But be realistic. Once one has begun, and make a commitment, never retreat from that commitment. That's diligence. They say, wise promise few, those they do, they will do. And foolish makes many promises and finish none. Why? Because they haven't actually surveyed whether they have the capacity, whether they're up to it or not. So this is the self-investigation. Steadfast. Be diligent to check your own capacity. But if you say, no, I can't do it, that's not diligence. Maybe because I can't do it, maybe this will teach me some new skills. Maybe I should do just because of that. Because of this thing I haven't done before. Maybe I should do just that. Because you are learning to see. Maybe this will give a new provision, new motivation to do. And if people are afraid of new commitment or innovation, maybe that's the problem of this emptiness of your life. Because you aren't doing things that are useful. You thought were too much. And so therefore maybe you need to do something, and once you start, just finish it without retreating. That's the diligence. So the verse number 47 is about how to remain steadfast, and through examine your capacity, and once you really carefully weighed pros and cons, once you take on something, then finish it. Don't make many false starts and not finishing anything very well, because that is due to laziness for sure. Again, many excuses, whatever the case might be. Because if you do retreat, the consequences of retreat from steadfastness, consequences of retreat from the steadfastness is expressed in the next verse 48. For acting thus, the pattern will return in later lives, and sin and pain will grow. Meaning, if I keep continuing doing this, the consequences of not having retreating from steadfastness means I will always be like that. It will never change, because that's like the consequences of laziness, consequences of lack of steadfastness, verse number 48, in later lives, and other action will be left undone. Yeah, many other things also will start and will be left undone. Left undone, meaning unfinished, or else will bear meager fruit. Yeah, all the things I do, but have a very insignificant result. And therefore, one is depressed because one didn't do any right effort to say delighted by the effort and relevant result. Because what one didn't do has didn't do result. So the didn't do result, of course, doesn't delight the person. And so most people's unhappiness comes from themselves not being industrious, not being reasonably diligent. Reasonably diligent people have reasonable outcomes. The effect or consequences, therefore. So, hence, it is important not to start something and abandon it. Begin something and conclude it until it rewards you something. Otherwise, the consequences of retreating from steadfastness would be one will never be steadfast anymore. Always be faint-hearted and frightened and discouraged and have many good excuses. And in the meantime, one feels very low and lower than lower. And that's because of the consequences of not being steadfast, to retreat, retreating from the steadfastness. So one needs to remain very steadfast. And so this is highlighting the consequences of retreating from steadfastness. Now, what is the remedy for that? So remedy has to be cultivated. Nobody has ready-made, homemade remedies. Remedies has to be cultivated. Discouragement should be discouraged. So you have to cultivate courage. So verse number 50 is talking about the importance of cultivating courage. Enfeebled by their mind's afflictions, this is talking about people who are in many ways 49 rather, the actions and the afflictions and the ability. Three things. This the one thing is the action. Another thing is the affliction that is detrimental to the likely action you will take, and the actual capacity, the ability. Three things to which my pride should be applied. So we need to apply our pride or confidence. I will do this. I am myself alone. So one needs to take on, saying, "Leave it to me. I will do." And these words define my pride of action. So the verse number 49 goes to highlight that overviews the courage, the overview of the courage, engaging with some kind of ownership and delight that what I will do will offset some other people and will benefit somebody, and therefore you have to have courage in the action, and therefore it will eliminate your defilements of belittling oneself, saying this is too much, I cannot do this, I'm not good at helping anybody, no, please don't ask me to do it, I've never done that before, please ask somebody else to do it. Affliction. That affliction will be overcome by confidence in the action. Confidence in the action. And so, therefore, and then you will develop ability. Ability isn't some kind of ready-made thing. You have to train. Training means learning to do what the capacity you don't have. So if you already know, it's not called training. So therefore, this Bodhisattva way of training in an ability that one doesn't quite yet have, because one is intimidated by this self-prejudice, self-belittling, self-discouragement. So defilements has to be unseated by the action, if the diligent action. The diligent action makes one's defilements to be remedied, and therefore one has ability. And therefore you have this courage, you have developed this courage. You have developed this courage, and this courage is courage in the action, knowing that I will do. So no, you can say, look, I can do it. I can do this today, tomorrow, and within a few days it'll be done. So you almost like encourage yourself that how you will do it, and so you are up to it. You tell yourself, I'm up to it. So you develop the courage of action. This is called developing the courage of action. Verse number 49. And then slowly, with this, enfeebled by their mind's afflictions, worldly folk are helpless to secure their happiness. So this is talking about how people's abilities are weakened by their afflictions. Worldly people are therefore cannot cannot be useful, cannot be productive. They are not good at creating happiness because they are enfeebled. They are maimed by their inability to overcome the difficulties. So therefore, it says that compared to those who wonder, I'm able. This indeed shall be my chosen task. You look at make some positive comparison with other people. Look at that person. He's doing that much just for that much gain, that much wage, or doing for hardly nothing, these people are doing a lot, he's older, he hardly can, a lot of energy, he's got a back problem, he's got this, but still look at what he does. So try to make a positive comparison with others, and compared to those who wonder, meaning those who are doing for very, very ordinary things, only for very shallow worldly purposes, people are wandering around, but still they are a lot of diligence to look at these things. I have human rebirth. I have precious human rebirth. I have refuge. I have the triple gem I have refuge in the triple gem. I have understanding of the Bodhisattva. Therefore, I should take on this chosen task on myself. So therefore, this is almost like talking about wearing an armor of courage. And it's often the diligence is called armor-like diligence. Like you feel unintimidated by the earliness, or by the hours, or by the length of time, or by how much demand it has to your body, knowing how it will actually benefit others. So you're armored by the intention with which you're not intimidatable or discourageable by the difficulties, by such difficulties. So by this, you therefore become a lot more acquainted with the noble action. Verse number 51, it goes to say, when others give themselves to base activities, meaning ordinary work, a basic. Look at the people how much they give hours and to make some basic things. How can I connive as their companion? So it's talking about making comparison again. But I shall not refrain through pride or arrogance. My best way is to give up such conceit. So it's talking about if others, for merely their own purposes, or or just to earn a living, or just to enjoy that afternoon, and they're packing themselves so much camping gear just to have a nice afternoon, delight in such a mundane task. They're diligent and they're willing to dip themselves in water or dirt or whatever, carrying very heavy loads or whatever. Why should I not compare with themselves and accomplish, remain benefit sentient beings? How can I possibly remain idle? It is not right for me to remain idle when I have such an important task to benefit sentient beings, and I am a servant. I'm a voluntary servant, and I should therefore engage in the well-being of others. So therefore, one bring them on, so to speak. I have responsibility. I have taken the vow. I've already said I'll do. My life is blessed many times than others. And even to achieve such worldly things, maybe if you don't compare with other people, if you think it's not fair on them, just think of our past. Because I used to do such and such things. I was so diligent. I will do all sorts of things, just for that kind of afternoon or just kind of weekend. I used to do that. Why can't I do this? Put the same kind of amount of commitment to these things, And so then you engage oneself in the air. So that is called diligence in the action, and so that you are not losing or giving yourself up to the affliction. Next is the how to develop courage in the ability. Now, the courage and ability. Not everybody has a set ability right from the very beginning, And so if often people say, I don't have the ability, I can't do this, I haven't done this before, this is beyond me. So they have this ceiling on their ability, They think it couldn't be lifted up. So Bodhisattva must lift the ceiling, must lift the bar and develop new ability. So he should develop courage, because courage is an antidote to the discouragement. Encouragement is antidote to discouragement. So previously we were discouraged, and that was our lack of ability. We were discouraged, and that's it. By ill health or whatever it is, you were discouraged by this. But if you are discouraged in the past by your illness or by your busyness or whatever it is, now you have to develop a new ability that discouragement cannot kill you or intimidate, but you overcome the discouragement as an antidote. Okay, that's very important. There are these 4 verses. All these 4 verses are how to develop courage as an antidote. Courage as an antidote. How to develop courage as an antidote. 52, he says, when they find a dying serpent, this is like using the analogy of a crow, Even crows behave like soaring eagles when they see a dead snake, Usually they wouldn't dare to, but as soon as they see a dead snake, even crows act like they are eagles, meaning they are diligent. They fly in a way they usually don't, because they're so enthused by their courage. Because they cannot be frightened by the dead snake, They know that. So we have to think, there's a dead snake, I'll do it. So dead snake things, and then you might find you don't think there's a live snake, venomous snake that'll bite you. That'll bite you, Therefore, if I'm weak and feeble-hearted, even little faults will strike and injure me. So you have to be diligent to know the danger of the feebleness of you, how easy you could be discouraged. How easy you could be discouraged if you don't have. So if I'm weak and feeble-hearted, even littlest of faults will injure me and make me incapable of performing. And the reason what is really saying is that this analogy of a dying, crows, and the crows is soaring like an eagle, but it's actually not daring to touch the dead snake. It's a dead snake, but still he thinks it's going to bite him. Because he's discourageable person. He always managed to self-discourage, So even dead snake will frighten him. So he's only flying like an eagle, but actually he is not daring to even touch a dead snake. So most of the things we are discouraged by are dead snakes. But we are afraid that will be too much for us. So therefore, we have to develop an antidote that can overcome that. Overcome that. 53. How will those who basely flee the conflict? Talking about the faint-hearted people, faint-hearted people quickly flee, ever free themselves from their debility, their inability. So that if people do that, how will they ever going to be able? They're always fleeing. But those who stand their ground with proud resolve are hard to vanquish even by the mighty. So this talking about, instead of thinking of what you are not able to, always think of what I can't do, or I will not be do. It's because whatever it is, it's too much, So when you're always thinking on that, then you will be always faint-hearted. You will be always very small, very feeble. There's a lack of always avoiding to do. No, I can't do that. No, I won't do that. No, not me. Whatever it is, doesn't really matter. Hardly do anything. When a person is always thinking of his or her incapacity or inability. So therefore, we should discourage ourselves to bet on the self-discouragement. We should try to overcome the self-discouragement by developing a courage that remedies this self-discouraging behavior. Therefore, so verse number 54, therefore, with a steadfast heart, I'll get the better of my weaknesses. So it's saying that the weakness is not just a thing in itself. It's just an unmobilized effort. Unmobilized effort. It's like park a car is a car that hasn't been started. That's the whole thing. So it's a car that's running is not a parked car because it's the engine started and at least there's a driver on the seat and it's put some oil and he's starting. So I'll get the better of my weaknesses, even though it's old car started. Pack some oil and so on. But if my failings get the upper hand, my wish to overcome the world is laughable indeed. So Shantideva is looking at that how victory overcomes from developing courage, And defeat always is caused by the very effort that we do not put. Defeat, word defeat means you don't have any feet left in you. Isn't it? Word defeat really means you have no feet in you. It's not that somebody defeated us. We just have the car never started. So we have to learn to overcome that problem. I will be the victor over all, So this is now the actual courage. I will be the victor over all. Nothing shall prevail and bring me down. So actually saying nothing will take the better side of me, for I'm very, very courageous. I'm willing, and by hook or crook, I'm gonna do this. The line offerings of the offsprings of the conquerors, meaning these are the disciples of the Buddha. Buddha is conqueror who actually conquered his inner dullness and laziness and all these things, He would have easily enjoyed doing many things, but he instead wanted to conquer his inner enemies of laziness and so on. And the lion offsprings, we are the lion of the Buddha. We are the cubs of the Buddha, if you like. Lion offspring means we are the cubs of the Buddha. We have sharp clothes and nice manes and beautiful eyes and can leap meters if we really want to, if we wanted to, should constantly abide in this proud confidence. So this proud confidence refers to the self-confidence. Why I will not? I have this many precious human rebirth factors. I have the Dharma. I have the refuge. I have the seed of the bodhicitta in my mind, and therefore you're now committed to strengthen your antidote to laziness, which is in order to win complete victory. So therefore, one's mind is very, very made up to be not intimidatable by other animals, and no opportunity that they can harm you. Not that they can ever harm you, but your naivety and uncub-like childish behavior made you to be very harmed. So if we just remember that I am lion cub of the Buddha, that I have bodhicitta, and that I have refuge, I have precious human rebirth, I know impermanence, I know the faults of laziness, and so on, then we definitely will be very confident and very courageous, not to be intimidated by any of the difficulties, what would have you. So that concludes the importance of developing courage, which is the antidote to the faint-heartedness, and so on. Now, next is how the disparagement of pride should be discarded. Because these three verses, it says, those whom arrogance and pride destroy are thus defiled. They lack proud confidence. So this is distinguishing between ordinary pride and arrogance, and they're defiled. They lack the real confidence. The confidence is a positive pride that I can do for the benefit of others. And the arrogance is the kind of the poisonous confidence is that someone is nicer than, stronger than us, we are competitive, we are jealous. Someone not so doing well, we put them down. Someone equal to us, we are competitive. That's the poisonous arrogance. Confidence is where you have positive confidence by which you know what you can do to help anybody, no matter who they are, whether they are stronger than us, or equal to us, or weaker than us. There's no kind of contempt shown to either of them, or disrespect shown to the strong, or contempt shown to the equal, or arrogance shown to the weak. There's none of that. But instead, one develops the real proud confidence. They fall into the power of an evil pride, but those with true pride will escape the enemy. So the first two lines are referring to the evil pride. Evil pride is afflicted pride. Afflicted pride is usually there are 7 types of pride in Buddhism, such as the arrogance against others who are maybe we think is weak, competitiveness towards others, and I'm best type of arrogance of self kind of amplification, and then contempt and disregarding other people's ability, and of course here all of such evil pride, arrogance pride should be overcome, but true confidence will overcome all the above. We call divine pride for instance, Vajrayana Buddhism, and in Mahayana Buddhism we say you have the Buddha nature, and so we need to have some kind of self-respect and not dishonor ourselves, and but give some degree of self-respect and allow oneself to have the hidden capacity to perform, not denigrating oneself and not look down upon oneself, of course, but rather saying even slight help may be there, but still I have courage, I have the better capacity and more fortunate condition than anybody else. Always make a positive comparison of oneself, and therefore not fall into self-denigrating. When arrogance inflates the mind, this is the negative, poisonous arrogance, it draws it down to states of misery. So he's highlighting that how how this pride of the evil kind should be discarded by talking, disparaging the evils of the evil this pride. Or else it ruins human birth. Should this be gained? So because pride only ruins the very person that we think we are, the poisonous pride, and so thus one is born a slave dependent for others' food. So this is talking about how wasteful it is to be so arrogant, and. It says, Oh, feeble-minded, ugly, without strength, the butt and the laughing stock of everyone, helpless creatures puffed up by conceit, with conceit. If these you will call the proud, then tell me who are wretched. So Shantideva is talking to oneself and discouraging the evil forms of the self-pride there is. These should be overcome, because when we talk about confidence, the confidence and arrogance must be clearly distinguished. If the one is poison, because there's a lot of contempt, a lot of arrogance, a lot of competitiveness, and a lot of looking down on others. If it's evil pride, but confidence pride has amazing sense of usefulness of one's ability, and one's ability is also they're only useful if one can be respectful towards those who can be helped to. So therefore, one's confidence is boosting one's usefulness to help others, whereas pride is not useful to anybody. It is very, very dangerous, very, very erroneously useless and harmful and poisonous whoever near him or himself. So that kind of evil pride corrode himself, very corrosive to everyone. It has no benefit. So therefore, when we say diligent, some people are very diligent. This is they call improper diligence, because it's motivated by me, first one. I want to be the first world number one. That kind of attitude, and always gaining and winning kind of material value. And one becomes so angry, so aggressive and possessive to guard that. So this kind of confidence, that even though they show some confidence, but they're mainly self-service, some kind of slaving oneself. It's enslaving oneself to name and worldly dharmas. So that's what it's talking about. These whole three verses, 56, 7, 8, are dedicated how to avoid, to disparage that kind of confidence, which is actually poisoned confidence, looks like very diligent person. There's so much diligence in this world. It's not lack of that, but most of them are this kind of diligence that are motivated by self-centered, egotistical mind, competitive, and always think that one is some extraordinary genius, and to prove to the world that one is so diligent, But usually they're very toxic. They're very harmful to the sports person or whatever. Their sprint run or their height of their career is for short-lived. After that, they're just so depressed. They don't know how to live like they have to that. They can't do any other job, because they want so easily so many things. And then they're depressed. And the lack of the stamina or any ability to do anything, because there's no humility. Confidence, diligence has a lot of touch of humility. It doesn't have to be the first finisher of the line. That could be the exact opposite of what is transcendental diligence. That is a selfish diligence. Selfish diligence. A lot of people went and tried to climb Mount Everest and never came back. Of course, they love it, but sure, we can say that, he loves the sport, but actually his intentions are usually so that they can be so important, or they're the first Mount Everest conqueror or whatever, that kind of attitude. So therefore, it's not lack of diligence. It's the diligence with the wrong motivation. If the intention is for oneself, even the biggest or most diligent person, is not transcendental diligence. It would have some, I suppose, worldly reward, short-lived benefit for sure, whatever it is, but long-term, it has no benefit even to the person. It makes the person just difficult to face anything else but the swimming or whatever they did. How can you swim the rest of life? They can't face anything. And we know quite a lot of people who become very, very world number one or one, but they are stuck with this depression and lack of self-worth because they thought that was everything. It's nothing, actually. Nobody needs to go there, swim that fast. It wasn't the cold piece of metal that we call metal. I don't know why they call metal for metal. Actually, it's just a metal, with the engraving of the occasion and event. But otherwise, that's about it. But when it's driven by ego, people are putting their life online. And some actually live the life on the line and never come back with the life. Yeah, they left on the line and they never came back. After they left swimming or sprint run, or like somebody who did boxing, he broke someone's jaws, but now his hand is always like this. Rest of his life is like this always. Amazing karma. Of course, we don't want to say that in front of them. But people do very, very stupid things, stupidly diligent things. And they don't realize karmic consequences that even if they want money, even they have a lot of medals up there, but their hand couldn't keep still. Consequences of breaking people's jaws and nose. This is pretty much in this lifetime the karma ripens. Diligent they are, yes. But evil confidence, they call. Yeah, evil confidence. This kind of confidence should not be confused with the transcendental joyous effort. It's important. So, having disparaged, this is disparaging this self, this self-importance or self-importance, pride and arrogance. And next comes the praise of the actual courage, true courage, that is the antidote to the above. Yeah? Of course, knowing it has to be altruistic in intent. Altruism has to be in intent. And this verse number 59 goes to address that. Those who uphold pride to vanquish pride, yeah, that's right. You're developing divine or altruistic pride, confidence, to overcome the worldly pride, the enemy, that's a cardinal affliction. One of the 5 cardinal afflictions is arrogance. Are truly proud. They should be truly proud. That's what the Buddha is, we call lion among human beings, because lion is often likened to pride, positive pride, are truly proud. The victors in the war. The victor in the war against the 84,000 afflictions. 84,000 troops of affliction attacked Buddha, but he single-handedly, without even raising one arm, putting both hands in the meditative state, he vanquished all the 84,000 troops. This is what we're talking about. Yeah? Victors in the war. Buddha was making war and peace at the same time. Yeah, he looks like he was making peace, but he was actually fighting the inner demons that he finds in his psychophysical body, what we call aggregate Mara or afflictive Mara, all the fear Mara or selfish Mara. All these Maras faced him, and he overcome all of them one by one. Those who overwhelm the progress of that evil pride, yeah, Buddha is the one who checkmates the afflictions. Basically, he will know exactly where to stand, how to stop that one moving from any further than that within no time. The fruit of Buddhahood, and satisfy the longings of the world. Now, this is the praise to the actual confidence. The Buddha, when he was discouraged or dissuaded by his father to leave the home, or by anybody, he was not dissuadable. He was just completely unchangeable. He was non-negotiable. That is what we're talking about. This confidence, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's not going to come back in a couple of days later. Oh, sorry, Dad, I think you were right, I shouldn't have left. Please, can you open the door? That sort of thing. No, he left and I didn't see him. He just left. Because that's the courage. That's the real courage. The courage to face the real enemy and courage to leave the real comfort. Real comfort, prestige, wealth, and everything. Everything that world praised for he had, but he deliberately turned his back to it. People were trying to escape, bad, life or food or poverty or like that. He deliberately chose all the things people were, abandoning. People tried to abandon. He was deliberately choosing simplicity, aloneness. Everybody is going this way. He's going that way. Everybody wants company. He's avoiding all the best companies. Everybody wanting wealth. He's getting rid of all the wealth. So that's a real courageous one. So this is the real paying homage, praise of the courage, which is the antidote. When you are unintimidatable by bodhicitta for the benefit of sentient beings, then you don't give up. That is a real, the courage of one that will perfect the fruit of the Buddhahood and will satisfy the longings of the world. Yeah, satisfy the longings of... every one of us been longing something in life, but when we read the Dharma, it just seems to be all there. We don't have to pay attention to so many things. There's still necessities of life, but we don't have the same kind of enthusiasm and craving for any of those as much. If we meant to let go, we can let go nowadays so easily because we have been completely satisfied with the truth of Dharma. It is so true to let go. It's not only true to let go when you hear it, it's even more true if you really let go. It satisfies your longing. Nobody says let go. Everybody says fight for it. You should get it back. Most people says you should get it back. You should hold it. You will need it. Oh, it's so stupid. You should not do that. One day nobody will help you. You will need it. You should keep working. Nobody will look after you type of thing, We always get that kind of adverse advice. But when you have found the real Dharma, and the question is whether we got it or not, satisfy the longing, The Buddhahood has not only... He did not just satisfy the people of his time, or disgruntled father, or the discouraged people of Shakya kingdom since then, anyone who really gets to know the Buddha and his life and his teaching, they all found something ever satisfying in the Buddha's teaching that completely changed their life from bad to good and good to better and better to best. Satisfy the longings of the world, And most people are still longing something, but until they meet the teachings, they will still feel thirsty. Now they may have this, they may have this, they may have that, they may have more of this, more of that. Or instead of that, nothing is substitute for this. Nothing is substitute to the finding of the Dharma. That's exactly to satisfy the longings of the world. All the thirst is gone. All the starvation is gone. All this incessant search is stopped. They say, did you find it? Yes, I found it. If you really found it, that is the worthy of, what do we call pride. We call them lion among humans. We call the Buddha lion among humans. Like the animal lion amidst all other animals, act like a very, proud and arrogant and very, very confident and unintimidatable. Likewise, that is the Buddha. So therefore, this is praising the result of diligence. The result of diligence is the Buddhahood. So if we too, like Shantideva is trying to suggest, we too who's interested, we must have this courage, unintimidatable, not feeble, not retreating, not making excuses, not procrastinating, not saying this can, that, and not making the wrong prioritizing always, but prioritizing the holy, prioritizing the Dharma and the sublime cause of it, and not being undiligent about that, but diligent that in terms of consistency. There are 6 types of application of diligence, they call it: devoted application, consistent application, causally concordant application, and so on. Because that's exactly what satisfies your hunger and thirst. If you have the true, divine pride, the courage that is unintimidatable by one's own hardships on the body or inconvenience of some comforts you have given up or whatever, you never mind, You're not attached to them anymore. You're diligent to not turn back to it, because you have satisfied the longing by the Dharma. Why crave that for that? Then when that likes of that has never satisfied you. When the noble taste of Dharma, gave you all the relishable taste, what kind of taste you are longing? No, you're not longing nothing. This is because you have overcome. Now you have remedied the actual discouragement. That is really diligence. Diligence starts when you're no longer discourageable. When you're no longer discourageable with difficult factors. So now moves on to the third part, which is courage, the actual courage itself, and how you work the courage to deal with the defilements. Is when you are beleaguered by defilements, by anger, maybe laziness, tiredness, whatever it is, beleaguered by any of the defilements, fight them in 1,000 ways. So courage to do with defilements. When defilements, don't think it is some kind of forceful thing. Don't think it's innately like that, strong and so difficult to work with. Develop the courage in working with your defilements. Fight them in 1,000 ways. So meaning, don't try to deal with only one way. Buddha said, if it's attachment, do this way. If it's ill will, do this way. If it's laziness, do this way. If it's discursive thoughts, do this way. From the Sutric point of view, do this way. From the Mahayana point of view, remedy this way. From the Vajrayana point of view, do this way. All the multifarious teachings, Buddha took great liberty to explain and tailor the needs of different people. You should try all remedies first. Exhaustively. Fight them in 1,000 ways. Do not surrender to the hosts of the afflictions. Be like a lion in a crowd of foxes. It's talking about your defilements as something not independent, truly existing. It's not caused by other people. Lots of people misunderstand. I was angered by your action, they call it. They don't realize our anger is just fox. You have to fox your anger. That it's got nothing substantial, nothing really realistic, reasonable reason to be angry. It is just completely useless air of enthusiasm. And so you have to deal illegitimize your anger and give them no bonus, give them no recognition as having a valid good reason to persuade you. And don't let somebody make you to anger. Don't blame somebody to think that they make me angry. So this is how you should act like a lion. That even somebody's action cannot make me to be intimidated by foxes. So if there's a real lion in us, we should act like one. You don't blame, there are 2 foxes, I'm going to go away from here. Lion says, they're just foxes. So one has to not being frightened by the foxes. So it's like talking about how you should be unintimidatable with the defilements. Even defilements, you should work with it, and they don't have a life of their own. They are transient, they are poorly conceived, bad ideas. You can call them poorly conceived bad ideas. Here comes all poorly conceived bad ideas. And so, they're empty gas, empty. they're sort of irrational, poorly conceived bad ideas. And that's what it really is. You got to denigrate them. You got to look at them as if they're not going to sort of stall you or stop you or hesitate you. Most people say, he upset me. And then we think that our upset is some kind of legitimate thing, and we have to do all sorts of foolish things because of that. Because maybe he's also afflicted, so that's all there is. There's another fox. Another fox barked, and your fox barked back, and that's all there is. A few foxes making. Yes, but if you remember your lion, never mind how many foxes there are. But if you become a fox, that's the problem. All of a sudden you're behaving like a fox. You forgot your lionness. So the Bodhisattva is about remembering that beleaguered by defilements. When you are beleaguered by defilements, fight them in 1,000 ways. Why? You have Dharma. Dharma has many multifarious remedies available up your sleeves. So don't just try one way and then give up. Maybe there's a peaceful way. Maybe there's a generous way. Maybe there's a powerful way. Maybe there's a forceful way. All kinds of ways you can use by using Dharma. Maybe you just have to give a little bit of time before you, so 1,000 different ways, Maybe you need to develop a little bit of understanding. Be patient. However, great may be their peril. So people will by reflex guard their eyes. And likewise, I, regardless of all hardships, must not fall beneath the defilement's power. So it's talking about using the analogy of how people will take great precautions, so that their eyes are not easily injured. Even though I may be burned to death, and though I may be killed or had my head cut off, at no time will I bow and scrap before the foe of mine defiled emotions. Maybe somebody else's can hit me or push you or whatever, but I will not my defilements to jump at it. There is no greater foe than this foe. The other person can do whatever, even if they did all of the above, they still cannot push me into the inferno or fire of hell. My own anger makes me to stay in the inferno a long time. And the actual inferno fire in which they pushed me would extinguish when the firemen came. But I'm burning in the inferno of my anger for so long time. So look at the difference. Look at the difference who we are victim of which. We are victim of mostly our afflictions, not people. So that's why verse number 61 and 62 also. Even though, 62, 61 and 62, and part of 63 as well, thus in every time and place, I will not wander from the wholesome path. So this is saying that I will never, let myself to give in these situations. So the courage against defilements. Because now one has recognized the defilements as the real enemy, it no longer has a wrong enemy, it has apprehended. In the previously, we wasted a lot of time in apprehending non-enemy as enemy. Now at least we act like a lion because we know the real problem. Real problem is our afflictions, and that is not up there. That is not what people are doing to you, saying to you. That's what we are, irrationally thinking and behaving. That is the real enemy. That is the real enemy. So now the Bodhisattva has been completely warned and completely informed, and therefore better prepared. He's better prepared. Now this is the diligence. The diligence not to impress other people. Diligence not to outperform other people. Diligence to show that you're such a great performer. Diligence to overcome your own ill will and afflictions. That's not a matter of how you perform. I overcome my anger whole day today. What do you think? We don't say that to anybody. And so diligence is diligence in dealing with one's own affliction. This is what it's talking about. So what Shantideva talking about, how we cultivate diligence, and that diligence to understand what is laziness, how we should discourage and discard laziness, how we should develop antidote, how we should develop and the intention, most importantly. Once we have recruited intention, how should we recognize the afflictions, the fighting against, working and transforming the affliction as the diligent number one. We may look like diligent to this, diligent to do that, or diligent to various things. Yeah, very, very form-orientated diligence. Materialism, spiritual materialism. Real diligence is spiritualism. You feel really, really diligent, and as a result of that, you feel lighter because the defilements are no longer weighing you down anymore. So your diligence in the practice has made you to have an intimate knowledge of defilements and their irrationality and their destructiveness and their persuasiveness. And you are cautious now, you're very cautious. You're never afraid of anything but your defilements and your naivety of it. Previously, you was used to be afraid of people or places or things or not having that or not having that. all things out there might do something, or lack of that might make me poor or weak or sad. But now we are not sad when we are not sitting with affliction. Now we are not poor. We are rich with wisdom, for we know exactly what to relish. What is this ever-satisfying longing the Buddha, the Shantideva is talking about, the Dharma is? That it just totally compensates us from all lack of. All things we lack of or we fail is completely acceptable, completely reasonable. It probably should be the way right from the beginning. We can't renounce them because we are afflicted. When we have no affliction, then we don't have any attachment to things. When we have no attachment to things, even those fondest, most favorable people or what, if they desert you, you don't suffer. You don't suffer because people desert you. You suffer because you are arrogant. How dare they do to me? I brought this up. I fed them, clothed them. If one do that, yeah, indeed, one will suffer. Even if they're with you, they suffer. Even they're without you, suffer. Now that we have apprehended the true enemy, then we definitely now have the courage. Courage to always stay on guard with afflictions. Always looking mindfully. This is mindfulness of Mahayana Buddhism. Mindfulness of one's own selfishness. Mindfulness of one's own affliction. Diligently practicing or chanting or sitting so that these afflictions are put on stall. So these afflictions are recognized and guarded and probably vanquished. That is the affliction. That is the diligence of all diligence. All other diligence is spiritual materialism. Diligence to get these, to have these, to obtain these, and still feeling greed, and still feeding the greed. That's not diligence. Why feed poison to live? You will not live because poison kills you. Why feed poison? So here the diligence is diligence to destroy and vanquish afflictions. And joyful not because people praise you, joyful because you win or gain, joyful because your mind is devoid of ill will, devoid of resentment and ill will. That's a real joy. The enlightened ones have this incessant joy, they say, and the joy comes from absence of ill will. Not because you got thousands of people love you or respect you or you got lots of wealth or whatever. And nobody is joyful because they're wealthy. They're worried about their wealth. They're not joyful. They're completely wrecked by that. I thought Dick Smith was very wealthy, but now he's complaining all the Dick Smith shops went down, even though he doesn't own them anymore. But he's really worried that they didn't make a good deal of it. If you're not attached to even your creator, it's good to them disappear. Good to see them go in flames. It's really, it's maybe that's the point of ownership, is just see whether you can just let go. If you create a beautiful sand mandala, they say, wow, and as soon as everybody says finished, then they sweep away quickly. And that's the whole idea. The whole idea of sweeping the flowers, mandala, is just so that you don't get attached to creations. That is defilements. That's an afflictions. Not when one of the first mandalas that were created in the West was still standing in Los Angeles, I'm told, because the curator didn't want it to be swept. And he just sprays something on the mandala, and the mandala is still there, and he wants to always show it to people to make some money or whatever. So of course, the real practice is that you sweep away, and then see what that creation actually taught you. Non-attachment. That's diligence to overcome affliction. Diligence not to feed the greed, not to satisfy the greed and have more type of thing. Nothing to celebrate, really. Real celebration is when Buddha got enlightened. Then enlightened the night, the world was filled with light, natural lighting. It's amazing. Everywhere, just all these fireworks just going off everywhere. Fireworks they never had to put up, going over. The world was filled with light and all sorts of things. Because the world celebrated the joy of enlightenment of one who has completely smashed all the afflictions, and they're clinging to that. So we'll conclude that. We'll do the remaining of the reading. Is it? Yeah, what's going on? Not so diligent. He just gone idle. He's not listening to the teaching. So we read the second part on page 2. In the spiritual energy that relieves the anguish of beings in misery and places depressed beings in eternal joy, I lift up my heart and rejoice. In the goodness producing illumination, I lift up my heart and rejoice. I rejoice in the beings who have gained eternal liberation from suffering, and I rejoice in those attained to Buddhahood, as well as in the springs of noble Bodhisattvas. In the ocean-like virtues of the body-mind that brings joy to all beings and accomplishes the well-being of others, I lift up my heart and rejoice. To the Buddhas of the 10 directions, I join my hands in respect. Let blaze the light of doctrine and truth for those beings lost in darkness. To the Buddhas who are considering parinirvana, I join my hands in prayer. Do not abandon the beings in sorrow, but remain to teach the countless ages. May any spiritual energy that generated by my devotion to the enlightened ones be dedicated to dispelling the misery of living beings without exception. As long as disease afflicts living beings, may I be the doctor, the medicine, and also the nurse to restore them to health. May I fall as rain to increase the harvest that must feed living beings. In ages of dire famine, may I myself serve as food and drink. May I be an unending treasury for those desperate and forlorn. May I manifest as what I have required and wish to have them. My body, every possession, and all goodness, past, present, future, without remorse, I dedicate to the well-being of the world. Suffering is transcended by total surrender, and the mind attains to nirvana. As one day all must be given up, why not dedicate it now, universal happiness? My bodily powers I dedicate to the well-being of all that lives. Should anyone wish to kill, abuse, or beat me, the responsibility is purely their own. Should anyone wish to ridicule me and make me objects of jest and scorn, why should I possibly care if I have dedicated myself to others? Let them do as they wish with me, so long as it does not harm them. May no one who encounters me ever have an insignificant contact. Regardless whether those whom I meet respond towards me with anger or faith, may the mere act of meeting contribute to the fulfillment of their wishes. May the slander, harm, and all forms of abuse that anyone should direct towards me act as a cause for their enlightenment. May I be the protector to the helpless, a guide to those, a boat to those wishing to cross over, or a bridge, or a may I be a land for those requiring a lamp, or those in darkness. May I be a home for the homeless and a servant for the world. In order to fulfill the needs of beings, may I be a magic gem and exhaustive vows, mystic spell and cure all illness, the wish-granting tree. May I act in the mighty earth, or like a tree, provide space whereby I and all others may grow. Until every being afflicted by pain has reached nirvana's shores, may I serve only as a condition that encourages progress and joy. As just as all previous Buddhas first gave rise to precious body-mind, and just as then carefully followed the stages of Bodhisattva discipline, likewise for the sake of sentient beings do I now myself generate body-mind, and likewise will I train myself in the discipline of a Bodhisattva. They who out of wisdom have seized the supreme body-mind, praise, glorify, and rejoice in it, that it may grow to fulfillment. From today I reap the fruit of life. Having well won the state of man, today I am born in the Buddha family and am now a child of the Buddhas. Thus in future I should take every effort to live in accord with the Bodhisattva ways. Never should I act with a shame to this noble, faultless family. If a bumbling garbage happens to find a rare and precious gem, likewise I will discover the jewel of precious body-mind. Thus I found this supreme ambrosia to dispel the load of death, destroyer of life, an inexhaustible treasure able to cure the poverty of all sentient beings. It is the highest of medicines to cure the ills of living, and is the tree giving shade to those wandering in the paths of life. It's a strong and mighty bridge which brings rose and misery. It is a moon to shine in the mind to clear away the pains of delusion. The body-mind is a great radiant sun to dispel the darkness of unknowing. It is the very essence of butters gained from churning the milks of Dharma. For all guests on the roads of life who would take abundance and joy, here is the actual seed of true happiness, a veritable feast to satiate the world. Thus today, in the presence of all awkward ones, animal beings, giving both immediate and lasting joy, may the gods and all others rejoice.